Be seated quickly. There are several questions that must be faced today concerning our predicament. And these questions are necessary because lines of demarcation are being clearly established. Everyone in this environment will be forced to declare where you stand. Like, neutral ground is shrinking. Either you're going to stand for justice or you'll be known to be for injustice. Either you'll be known to stand for equality and equity, or you'll be known to stand for inequality and inequity. It's becoming very clear. You'll either be Target, the store Target, or Costco. Either you're funding the plantation or you are defunding the plantation. Your looks concern me. Maybe I need to educate. Let me say this, brothers and sisters. The agenda of the ultra-conservative right is well financed. It's well financed. And it's financed by corporate citizens, corporations, people with money. And so when you look at entities like the Heritage Foundation that published Project 2025, you have to look at who donates to it. Because they would not have the ability to develop, print, publish, and execute such an agenda if it was not well funded. And it's really counterproductive to be praying about God to deliver you while you shop with the oppressor. It's quiet. Let me. So knowing who's funding the oppressive agenda is necessary. But because I may be funding the sponsors of the plantation. Well, you said plantation. Well, I'm suggesting this based on fact. The only reason we left the plantation is because a few laws changed, not hearts. It was a change of some laws. And those few laws has kept us off the plantation. You understand? But now those laws, according to Project 2025, are being removed. One must ask why. The answer is clear. Because the little progress that you've made is too much. And if these laws remain in place, you're going to continue making progress. So then we'll change the laws. Well, if we're going to, brothers and sisters, avoid going backwards, and I've heard y'all chanting, we ain't going back, we ain't going back. Well, let me just say this to you. If you keep funding the oppressor, you are paying for your way to go back. Like you're building the bus ride. Okay. So then, it becomes necessary for us to wake up. Especially, I'm speaking now of our church, the black church at large, because if we are not alert, if we're not aware, if we're not informed, if we're not up, you understand, by the time we wake up, it will be too late. Now, these questions, like, who owns you? Who calls your shots? To whom are you loyal? Who are you depending on? Who are you willing to bow down to? And I'm suggesting that you really contemplate these questions, because everyone is going to have to decide where you stand. That list includes politicians, because I'm telling you, politicians are being bought. Not just Republicans. Have you ever wondered why even under the Democratic president we could not get the voting rights passed? Even when Democrats had the majority of the House and the presidency, we still did not get the John Lewis Voter Rights Act passed. Can I give you a straight to the... It's because 2 Democrats didn't vote for it. Senators. Joe Manchin. Oh, y'all hear me? And we didn't march on that. Like, we never had a march against the Democrats who opposed voting rights. He said, well, why would Democrats oppose voting rights? Because they play politics with our futures. As long as we have something that we didn't get passed, they got something to campaign on. We didn't get the George Floyd pass against violence, police violence, with the Democrats in charge. So I don't want you to think that the devil is a Democrat or Republican. This is not a partisan message. The oppressor can look. Oh, y'all follow what I'm saying? So now, we need to understand that that's where we are. And the test of internal fortitude and of the firmness of our core values will be, how do we stand in times when being for justice is inconvenient? I want to say to us that the present regime of oligarchs have a clearly defined agenda. And one of the elements of this agenda is to destroy what little progress blacks and minorities have made, but worse than that, to destroy the laws and institutions that has made progress possible. That's more dangerous. But at the heart of our progress has been the black church. Anyone who knows history just a little bit will understand and have to acknowledge that the role of the black church has been essential to the progress of all oppressed people in this nation. That ought to make you feel pretty good about yourself, because without the work of the black church, I'm telling you, other minority groups would not be enjoying what they are enjoying. It was God working through his people. God working through his people. It was a black church fighting to change laws, a black church fighting for dignity of black people and others, a black church that grounded our community, a black church that became a symbol of justice, peace, equality, and righteousness. The black church led voting rights. The black church led freedom and access to facilities. And you know and I know that had it not been for the reverend doctors of the day, you know, Reverend Dr. King, Reverend Dr. Abernathy, Reverend Dr. Andrew Young, Reverend Dr. John Lewis. All of those men and women were praying people in church. And they left the church pews and went outside to march and to protest. And they took with them an anointing. Okay, let me say it. Okay. They took with them an anointing and a promise. And that promise that they took with them was the same promise God made to Moses and the children of Israel in Exodus chapter 6. I will. Oh God. I will. I will deliver you out of bondage. I will. And I can't speak for you, but today I'm encouraged by the I wills of God. This won't make the news. It won't be on ABC, CNBC. It won't be on MSNBC. It won't be on Fox. Will not be on social media. But God is still saying, I will. I wish you could understand the power of God's I will. And if I will is all you've got, I will is all you need. I need about 20 people here who understand that when a sovereign God says I will, when an omnipotent God says I will, when an omniscient God says I will, when a God of all power, all authority says I am the Lord, and I will. I will. But I want to tell you, God's not going to do it until we wake up. And I know we're not woke yet as a people because the church is still kind of iffy. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Put a pin there. I'm going to tell you why I'm saying we're not awake yet. I know we're not, but I'll tell you why in just a moment. You see, the pulpit now must become responsible for helping to wake us up. This is not time for, Cracker Jack box preaching. It's not time for going on social media and picking up somebody else's sermon to excite the people. This is not time to borrow sermons from the internet and put some gravy with it to flavor it to make people feel like they got something. This is not the time for a microwave message. It's not the time to be cute, cool, and all that, trying to be all suave and sweet. No. This is not the time for that. Entertaining people because you're a great orator, you got the skill of speech. This is not. Now is a time for a prophetic word that will first of all shake the people, wake the people, and then challenge the people to stand with God, because if we don't stand with God, God can't stand with us. This is a serious time. We got to wake people up and make us aware of what has happened to us over the last 50 years that's gotten us back into this predicament. Is there anybody here thought we were through with this? Like, I thought we were really going forward. Okay, Maybe you had a telescope to look into the future. I didn't. I thought that we were going to be okay. I never thought we'd be without voting rights again. Like I thought the EEOC was going to be here. I did not think that over half the nation would vote against diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I sure didn't think over half the nation would elect a tyrant, a dictator, and a criminal, and a thug that's been convicted of 35 felonies. I never thought that. Okay, maybe y'all had a better idea. I just thought that America was a little bit. Okay. Let me calm down because your enthusiasm is overwhelming. Your push is hard to handle. Your energy is so incredibly convincing that you are upset. You see, I'm saying, I thought that our ancestors had bled enough. I thought that enough folk had died, had been beaten and lynched. I thought that enough of that had happened that we'd be beyond this. I didn't think that we would desecrate their suffering and system. I thought that after all we've seen and all we've gone through, that we were at least beyond where we are now. I didn't think we were going to have to march again to vote. I thought Fannie Lou Hamer and Medgar Evers getting shot in his driveway, I thought all of that had been enough for us to have voting rights forever. I thought the majority of the nation was good with that. And I sure didn't think some black folk were going to vote against themselves. Your calmness concerns me. I want to tell you, we got here because we've been too calm. And the reason we've been too calm is for three reasons. One, historical disillusionment. Two, cultural disillusionment. And three, theological disillusionment. We've been disillusioned. We've been historically disillusioned. We've been, culturally disillusioned and theologically disillusioned. Let me discuss that for just a moment. You see, brothers and sisters, this historical disillusion goes back to the fact that most of us have been disillusioned by history. We started our history in slavery. Like the slave ships was our first understanding of who we are as a people, because that's all the history books taught you growing up. That's all it taught you. So this information about history, when the truth of the matter is, if you go back to the early 1600s, black folk were already in Americas. In fact, you can go back before that. We were here before they came. Okay. Understand this, that blacks, Africans were sending, merchant ships to the Americas and even to Mexico and Spain. But long before, like we were tradesmen. Like Africans were trading gold for corn from Africa to Mexico long before Europeans ever had a ship. But we didn't sail to those places to take over them. We were just doing business because we've never shown up to take over some of them. Okay, I'm talking history now. Listen, go back to the 1600s. Before there was such thing as whiteness. Like white did not start until 1681. There was no such thing as a white class. And notice, white has never been legalized. It's only been normalized. Okay, let me watch this. Listen. Before that, when the Brits first came and started the colonies, like in Virginia and in Maryland, y'all with me? You know, the 13 original colonies. Yes, Virginia and Maryland. The Brits were sending over mostly its poor class to work the land for the elites that own the plantations, the farms. Most of the workers, the indentured servants, were white in color, but they were Brits. there was a small number of African indentured servants and a small number of Portuguese and a small number of the indigenous. The largest of that working class indentured were white. But they weren't called white, they were called Brits. Because there was no such thing as being white. Watch this. But there was more work because the tobacco farms in Virginia and in Maryland required a large workforce. And because the Brits started sending fewer and fewer because they were running out, they had a labor shortage. Are you following me? So now, so they're reproducing laborers, and the laborers that happen to be African descent and Brit and Portugal were outnumbering the elites. So they started rebellions. That's where Bacon's rebellion came. Say bacon, 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 like you eat. Bacon, bacon, say Bacon's rebellion. Bacon's rebellion caused an alarm. It lasted for over a year. And even though the rebellion did not totally succeed, they killed enough of the elites that they decided we got to stop this from happening again. So to stop it from happening again, what the elites did was created a white class. So if you were poor and Brit and your skin was white, they gave you white status. So now they gave the Brits a little land, didn't make them rich, but gave them enough now to divide them from the blacks. So they became now, listen, disillusioned, thinking that if the elite class had given us a land and some status and a badge, do you understand that that's how the police force got started? They started pitting the whites against the blacks in order to break up the power structure and divide them. That's how white got started. Okay, let me back up. Before that, all of the indentured class were equal, like they ate together, slept together. There was even what we would call interracial marriages. Like there were counties where over 50% of the African ancestors had descendants of Africa married British white women. But there was no problem with that until they started rebelling. In order to break up the power to rebel, they created white as a status to make poor whites think that they were connected to the elite whites. Can I tell you why poor whites are still voting for Trump? Because they think they're one of them. But they'll never be one of them. They've been disillusioned. Okay. I'm trying to teach you something here now. Okay. I said, why did the Hispanics vote so heavily for the oppressor? Now they're disappointed. They did because they made them think they're one of them. Because that's how you divide and conquer. Come on, say we've been historically disillusioned. Now watch this. I gotta hurry. I'm running out of time. I got too much to teach. Listen. This happens in 1664. So the discussion to begin with started in the British colleges. If you don't go back to that, before the slave trade, you follow me? If you don't go back to that, then you're starting in the wrong place. Got it? Now, there were indentured servants, and then it became slavery. Now, the founding of our nation is white supremacy laced. Anybody know when America was founded? 76. Come on, y'all been in history, huh? I made a see, I still know that. Come on, say 1776. Okay, all right, not 1600. 1776. And in the laws that founded our country, white supremacy was already the motive. So you read the presidents, those who created the founding documents, they were slave owners. They were not making laws against themselves, they were making laws to profit themselves. Okay. Now, so we got to understand, we got to have a true understanding of history. Come on, say history. Yes, because whoever writes the historical narrative, they decide the story. And most of us have been learning the story that they wrote about us. Okay, watch this, watch this, watch this, watch this. Historical disillusionment leads to cultural disillusionment. Like if you don't know your real story, then your culture is warped. Your sense of who we are is jacked up. Okay, let me show you this graph. Let me show you this survey of this graph. Put this on the screen for me, Avery. I want to show you this graph from a guy by the name of Robert Jensenson. This guy wrote the book. It's too small. Don't say show is like that, Evelyn. I thought that was Evelyn. Who said show is? Okay. Okay, watch this. It is too small, but let me read it. So listen. This is his description that he printed this in the 1700s. Watch this now. Printed this describing different people groups. And if you read this, start with the Homo Americanus. That's describing the indigenous. Straight black hair, thick hair, gaping nostrils, freckle face, beardless. Move over to the left, number three. Go the other way. Yielding, unyielding, cheerful, and free. Y'all see that? Okay, go down to the Europeans. Scroll it up. That's the white. White, sanguine, muscular, plenty of yellow hair, blue eyes. Got that? Going to the right, some more. Light, wise, inventor. You see that? Now go down. Asiaticus. Sallow, melancholic, stiff, blackish hair, dark eyes, stern, hardy. What? Bring it up. Greedy. We go up. Now go up, Avery. Go up to the Africanus. You got to go down, Avery. I'm so scroll. Avery's at the bottom. Thank you so much. All the way up. All the way. One more. Here it is. Come on. Go. You are almost there. Black, pigment, lazy. Oh, no. Go back to where you were. Zoom out. Sluggish, neglectful, sly. Now, that's what's published in history books about us and sociology. Now, how can we be that and we grew all the cotton and the tobacco? Catch me now. Our work product didn't look like that. But that's what they wrote in the history books and the sociology books. To describe us, that's why we talk about each other like we do. Because even we are culturally disillusioned. Like we don't know ourselves as shipbuilders and shipmakers and merchants. Because they publish us when we steal something, not when we build something. Okay, let me, okay. When you read the history books, they publish themselves as those who are civilizers of society. Like they're teaching others to be civil. Am I at church? Please tell me I'm at church. Because I'm about to say something that didn't sound like church. Yeah, I was about to. Thank you. Come and say, stay at church, Pastor. Please stay at church. Okay. Well, how the hell are you going to be a civilizer and you are raping and stealing the Indians' land, put us in slavery, rape our women in front of the man? How civilized is that? How you the civilizer and you the one stealing, plundering, robbing, raping, disarming, and even after slavery, thousands of lynchings. How do you do that? So now, the reason they don't want that history taught in schools, they say because they don't want to traumatize the kids about the past of their ancestors. Well, they shouldn't have done it. That's the first thing. Secondly, they need to know what their ancestors did so they won't repeat it. Thirdly, if they know what happened in history, they'll understand why we are so upset. And telling us just to get over it doesn't work. There was never treatment for the trauma. Do you know how traumatic it must have been for a woman, black, with no rights? She's a slave. And listen, when you read, got to understand it, they owned you, which means that they own your sexuality. So slave owners would rent women out to their friends. Or maybe I owe you, so I'm going to pay the debt by letting you have her for 2 weeks. I mean, this is the stuff we've been through. And you want us just to get over it? Okay. Now, let me hurry. This is real history. I'm not making this up. In fact, I'm understating it. You're snatching people's children from them. Now, if I had time, I'd teach on the laws that were passed after Bacon's rebellion. Verse 7. See, before that, when indentured servants, they could work their time off and get paid and get weapons. Because a part of being a man, with being the patriarch of your family, meant you had to be able to provide and protect. Because back then, there was a law called the law of coverture, which meant that the man had total authority over his wife, his children, his family. Follow me? And in exchange for having all that authority, he had to protect them. Like that was a man's job to protect. Okay? So after Bacon's rebellion and the law started changing, it changed vastly. For one, the white indentured servants that were set free got their pay, and they got guns and ammunition. But the blacks who were freed from the indentured servant outlawed them to ever have a gun or gunpowder, and they could no longer vote. They could vote before Bacon's rebellion. After, they could not. So now here you are, even a freed man can't get a job, can't protect your wife and family. So what do? You go back into slavery. Because the idea was to disempower the black man so he could never take care of what's his. Can I tell you that's the goal today? You see? That's why you can't get benefits unless if the man is in the house. You see, because the idea is to keep him disconnected from what belongs to him. And if a man can't take care of his wife or his family, he feels like he's left on the man. And if he can't provide for and protect her, where's she going? Can you tell somebody, don't act dumb now, don't act slow? So you really have to understand the psychology of the history and the psychology behind the cultural disillusionment. But let me back this up, I'm closing now, with theological disillusionment. Because the white church was theologically sponsoring and validating the movement. Because white churches own slaves. Pastors own slaves. And white businessmen who were in church teaching Sunday school and deacons own slaves. So they twisted the Bible to validate slavery. Okay, Kyle, would you play Amazing Grace, please? Just play Amazing Grace. Y'all know that song? Stop. Who wrote it? No, who wrote it? Who wrote it? Who wrote it? Who wrote? No, who wrote it? I'm making a point. We don't know. Let's come and say, I don't know. It's okay not to know some things, and then you learn better. Will somebody use your phone right now and say, John Newton? Now type in John Newton's connecting to slavery. You see, we don't know that we're singing a song of a proponent of slavery, and that became the anthem for the church. Like the anthem for the church. Amazing Grace. I'm not criticizing the song. I want you to understand that you could be a proponent of slavery and still be a star in that church. You could be the major writer of the hymn. Look it up. Did anybody find it? What did it say? He's a part of the Atlantic slave trade. Captain of the ship. Because the church blessed the ships. Like they went out and prayed, Lord, let this ship sail safely. Give them safe journey across the Atlantic and come back with a lot of slaves to work our plantations and make us prosper. That's how they prayed. No wonder now that the neo-conservatives are supporting the Project 2025 movement because they are following the lineage of their ancestors. Have you heard of the Southern Baptist Convention? How was it created and why? Because in the North they decided against slavery and they said, we're keeping our slaves. So we're going to break off from the rest of the Baptists and form our own new convention because we're going to keep us some slaves in the South. How is some black person now sitting in there giving their tithes and offering? See how quiet y'all are? I can tell you, I got to get out of here. When we moved across the street from Fager, we had no money, just faith, because God said I will. And listen, got there, had to get a loan to buy it. No bank would finance it. I went to a leading minister because I knew he had bank presidents in his church. You know, he called me his friend, and we prayed together, and you know, all that. And I went and met with him, and can you introduce me? He said, I can solve this problem very quickly. Our association will gladly loan you the money, Pastor Dixon. You just got to join it. So they wanted me to join the Southern Baptist Convention, and they were going to give us a church loan. I had no other way. I didn't know where I didn't know where else to go. I'm 23 years old. We'd already left Fagan and let somebody else take the building over there. We over here with no money, can't get the loan. Time was running down. And he said to me, I guarantee you we can do it. Just need to join Southern Baptist. I'm 23 years old. We need $1 million. Time is running out. The banks have already said no. He's saying I can do it. I said to him, let me pray about it. I didn't have to pray, but I just told him that. Went back to him and said, well, what do you think? I said, let me first of all thank you for being willing, but I respectfully declined. And he said to me, did you find a loan somewhere? I said, no, sir. No, I didn't. He said, I don't understand. I know you need the money. Why are you turning it down? It's all I got to do is, I can sponsor you in, and because other black pastors were doing it, and still doing it. And he said, why? How you said no? I said, I was hoping he hadn't asked me why. And I said, because, Pastor, our people need to know God can bless us without joining y'all. And he said, you understand? He said, that's the only reason. I said, there's one more reason. He said, what is that? I said, y'all need to know God can bless us without joining y'all. He turned very apple red. He said, well, I guess I have to accept that. I said, please don't take that personally. I walked out of there, got in my car, and said, now, Lord, because you got to understand, we needed it. But I knew had I joined that, I could never be leading this. Like, I wouldn't be, I'd have to give up my voice. I couldn't lead another protest. I couldn't lead another march. I couldn't do it. My voice belonged to God. And God says, I will. You missed the whole sermon. God said, I will. And if you ever learn to trust God when he says, I will, God will do things for you that you can't even figure out because he's still Lord. Oh, God. Would you tell somebody we got to stand on the I wills of God? God says to Moses, I will deliver you out of bondage. I will destroy Pharaoh. I will take you to the right land. I will. Is there anybody here ever understood the I wills of God? When God says, I will bless you, get ready to be blessed. If God says, I will heal you, get ready to be healed. If God says, I will fight your battle, get ready to win. If God says, I will raise you up, get ready to be elevated. If God says, I will protect you, go to sleep tonight. If God says, I will open the door, walk on through it. Because there's nothing that your God is not able to do. Can you give God a praise today?